Welcome to Karma Chronicles. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin.
The envelope was thick, too thick for something casual. My name was written in gold script, the kind they use for royalty or red carpet events. I stood at my kitchen counter, still in my navy Verity fleece, holding it like it might burn me. Inside, an invitation. A wedding, my sister Ava's wedding. Ava Lynn Harper and Jordan Whitaker Rutledge request the honor of your presence. I laughed, out loud, one of those dry, bitter laughs that doesn't quite make it to your throat. I hadn't spoken to Ava in nearly 3 years. Not really. A couple texts, a forced Christmas phone call, and now this. The insert was ridiculously ornate. Gold foil edges, pressed vellum, some kind of weird wax seal I had to chip through just to get to the RSVP. She always did love drama. Even the font screamed, "Look at me." I dropped the envelope on the counter and leaned against the fridge. I'd been up since 4, reviewing telemetry logs from the Sierra deployment, $80 million, riding on a navigation system that no one in that room knew I'd built. Not the client, not the contract officers. Certainly not Ava, my little sister, the one who laughed in my face when I quit VERITY AERO to start my own company. "You really think you're going to reinvent guidance software in your garage?" That was what she said, word for word. Thanksgiving, 5 years ago. And yet here I was, CEO of VERITY AERO. Not that anyone knew. The company ran silent, built behind 3 shell core and 2 holding LLCs. Our tech was in half the autonomous air fleets on the continent. And now, apparently, Ava was marrying the Rutledge heir, Jordan Rutledge, the smirking idiot who once told me, "You've got a clever pitch, Dana, but we don't back hopefuls, we back proven performance." That was 2 years ago, when I'd pitched them Series B funding, rejected. And now they were trying to buy our tech. I opened my laptop, pulled up the internal tracker. Sure enough, Rutledge Aviation PO pending $80 million, classified under contract call 014043NX. Project, Compass Core, Integration, .ETA, Q3 delivery, pending signature. I smiled slowly, quietly, because the Compass Core was mine. I wrote the first kernel in a motel room outside Spokane. My fingerprints were still buried in the code. The order hadn't cleared yet, but they were desperate. Our recent demo shattered the performance ceiling. No drift, 0 loss. Perfect autonomous vectoring in low-bandwidth airspace. Verity was the only vendor on Earth who could deliver it on time. They needed me, and they didn't even know it. I glanced back at the invitation, Ava.Rutledge, all their smug friends in rented tuxes, sipping champagne paid for by a trust fund, with my name nowhere on it. Except they'd already handed me the knife, and they didn't even know they were bleeding. I picked up the RSVP card and smiled to myself, boxed in a tiny little square, "Will attend." Beneath it, "Please indicate any dietary restrictions." I grabbed a pen and wrote, "No shellfish, no hypocrisy. See you soon." Then I sealed the envelope and slid it into the outgoing tray. Let the party begin. It was already snowing when I stepped off the shuttle. The resort sat halfway up a mountain outside Vail, carved into pine and stone like it had been dropped there by a movie set designer. The staff wore pressed uniforms. The champagne flutes were already out. Everything smelled like rosemary and wealth. I adjusted my black coat, the hem catching wind as I walked across the cobbled courtyard. My dress underneath was navy silk, custom cut, quiet luxury. No label on display. No reason to flaunt. I didn't need anyone's validation here. I just needed to get through the weekend. Inside, the lobby was a wall of marble and murmurs. Everyone looked polished. Lipstick perfect, teeth capped, suits tailored down to the wrist. I spotted Ava across the atrium, holding a mimosa and laughing like she was on her second take of a reality show moment. She spotted me too. Her smile didn't waver, but I watched the flicker in her eyes. The squint, the calculation. "Dana," she said, walking over, "you made it." "I did," I replied. No hug. She air-kissed beside my cheek like we were acquaintances who once shared a Pilates class. "That dress," she said, stepping back. "So, architectural. Very, I live in a loft and code things." I smiled. "Thanks, yours is floral?" "Vera Wang." She glanced around and gave a quick wave to someone over my shoulder. "Anyway, welcome. Make yourself comfortable. Mom and Dad are somewhere near the bar." She was gone before I could answer. I found my mother near the glass doors, fussing with a tray of lemon water. Dana, she said quickly, you look nice. That coat, is that wool? Cashmere. Oh, well, it doesn't wrinkle, at least. She smiled tightly. Anyway, seating is a mess. Don't worry if you don't find your name on the chart. Just head toward the lower tier. You'll see a table by the service doors. Good view of the buffet line. Perfect, I said. The table was tucked near the kitchen entrance, half hidden behind a support beam. The florist had clearly run out of centerpieces by the time they got here. I sat across from an elderly couple who asked if I was one of the tech cousins. A waiter paused when he read my card. D. Harper, handwritten last minute in black pen. Should you be at... Never mind, he said, glancing toward the front tables, where white calligraphy marked every Rutledge and Harper with precision. If you need anything, just flag me. From across the room, I watched my father holding court. His glass was raised, his voice booming. And, of course, we've always had a strong engineering legacy. Dana's done some consulting, but this new aerospace deal, the Rutledges know quality when they see it. I tilted my head, so he knew, sort of. He didn't know that the deal wasn't with Ava's future family. It was mine, my tech, my team, my patents. But go on, Dad. Take the credit. I sipped my drink slowly, eyes drifting around the room. Everyone here thought I was just the quiet sister, the one who left the big firm, who tinkered with software no one understood, no one important. They didn't know about VERITY AERO. They didn't know about the Compass Core. They didn't know that the backbone of Rutledge Aviation's future was sitting next to a swinging kitchen door, eating salad off a side plate with no dressing. And that was fine, because soon they would. The ballroom glittered like a snow globe. Glass chandeliers, crystal-draped tables, white roses in impossible arrangements. A string quartet played something forgettable while guests circled champagne like sharks waiting for the next round of speeches. I stood near the back wall, sipping flat Prosecco and watching the Rutledge family work the room like they owned the oxygen. Ava grabbed the mic around dessert. Before the cake comes out, she said, we just want to thank all of you for making tonight unforgettable. Polite applause, she smiled wider. And of course, a special thanks to my big sister Dana, who took time off from whatever it is she does now. A few heads turned toward me, a few chuckles. Ava continued, no, really, she's doing some kind of software thing, consulting maybe? She looked around. You know Dana, always tinkering, a quiet genius, or so she claims. Laughter. Jordan took the mic from her, grinning. The genius part's debatable, but hey, someone's got to write the code, right? Just don't ask her where the money comes from. He winked, the kind of rich boy wink that assumed everyone found him charming. A slow burn started behind my ribs. I pulled out my phone, stepped a few feet away from the crowd, and called Lillian, my ops manager. She answered immediately. Need you to initiate hold protocol on 1443 NX effective now. Pause. Are you sure? Yes. Pull the contract, notify legal. I'll follow up in 30. You got it. I hung up. By the time I turned around, Jordan was raising his glass. To Ava, and to building a future with the kind of partners who know what real innovation looks like. Someone tapped their fork against a glass. Toast time. I stepped forward. To real innovation, I said clearly. Heads turned. Jordan froze, mid-sip. I'm Dana Harper, I continued, founder and CEO of VERITY AERO, which, incidentally, owns the patent portfolio that powers the Compass Core guidance array. I looked directly at Jordan, the one you just tried to purchase for $80 million. A visible ripple moved through the room. And since I was just referred to as a quiet genius, with no real stake in anything, I paused, pulled my phone back out, and held up the screen. I've just canceled your procurement order. Jordan's champagne glass slipped from his hand. It shattered on the marble floor. I kept going. Effective immediately, Rutledge Aviation's bid is void. Your contract was contingent on delivery this quarter. We're pulling out of negotiations. Ava stepped forward. What are you talking about? I turned to her. You married into a company that relies on tech it can't build, and the one company that can, you tried to humiliate its founder tonight. Whispers turned to murmurs. Phones came out. Jordan stammered. You can't do that. We've already announced the integration. Then I suggest you start drafting the retraction, I said calmly, because you just lost your last operational lifeline. Silence fell like a dropped curtain. Someone near the bar muttered, Holy shit. Another guest whispered, She owns VERITY? I looked around at the glittering, stunned room. My parents frozen, Ava blinking hard, Jordan red-faced and still holding an empty stem. You wanted a performance, I said. Here it is. Then I smiled and walked back toward the shadows by the service doors, exactly where they'd put me. Jordan was already sweating. His collar was undone, face pale, hands twitching like he wanted to grab his phone but didn't know who to call. Around us, the room had shifted. Laughter gone, glasses half raised. Guests angled their chairs, pretending not to watch while watching everything. Someone whispered, "Is that the Verity Aero?" Jordan stormed toward me. You have no idea what you just did. I didn't move. Actually, Jordan, I know exactly what I did. You needed Compass Core integrated by Q3 to stabilize your drone line. You needed it operational by July to appease your overseas procurement officers. That $80 million wasn't just for the tech, it was to buy you time. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I stepped closer. Your current software's drift rate exceeds FAA limits in weather variation. You've already demoed Verity's stabilization figures to the press, even though the contract wasn't signed. Now, you'll have to explain why your flagship drone can't hold course over Arizona in a clear sky. His jaw clenched. That's when Robert Rutledge appeared. He entered like a man used to being the biggest voice in any room. Guests made way instinctively. His expression was pure fury, black suit crisp, silver hair gleaming under the chandeliers. He zeroed in on Jordan. What the hell is going on? Jordan swallowed hard. Dad, I can fix it. Fix what? Robert snapped. Why is your mother calling me saying our deal just got pulled on the floor of our own son's wedding? All eyes turned to me. I offered my hand. Dana Harper, CEO, Verity Aero. Robert hesitated, then shook. You're the engineer? The one who... Wait, you're Verity? That's right. He narrowed his eyes. This was supposed to be done. We wired the first installment this morning. Pending contract review, I replied. No agreement was finalized, and after tonight's remarks from your son and new daughter-in-law, I tilted my head. Verity has decided we're no longer aligned with Rutledge Aviation's values. Robert's mouth opened, then snapped shut. He turned to Jordan, voice low and deadly. You said the deal was secure. Jordan looked like a child. It was. I didn't know who she was. Robert's voice sharpened. That's the problem, Jordan. You never know who anyone is. He turned back to me. You realize what this does to our timeline? I smiled. That's not really my concern. Whispers bloomed louder. People weren't even pretending to look away now. Someone held up a phone, filming. On the far side of the room, a teenager pointed at a news app. It's trending. Ava shoved forward, her heels clicking across the marble. Can everyone just calm down? She snapped. This is still our wedding? One awkward moment doesn't mean... This isn't awkward, I said calmly. This is called accountability. Ava's nostrils flared. You're doing this to embarrass us. No, I said. You did that part yourselves. Robert grabbed Jordan's arm. We'll talk outside. Now. They turned, but the murmurs followed them. Live streams, searches, half the guests already Googling me. The narrative had shifted in real time, and nothing Ava said could stop it. She looked at me, desperation creeping into her polished expression. You don't have to ruin everything. I'm not ruining anything, I said. I'm just no longer cleaning up your mess. And then I walked back toward my table by the kitchen doors, the one they thought was beneath me, while the illusion of power crumbled behind me. I didn't even see her coming. One minute I was walking past the dessert table, the next my mother had gripped my wrist, her face pinched, eyes wild. Dana, please, she whispered. You've made your point. You're humiliating us. I looked at her hand, then at her face. I didn't ask for this spectacle. You could have handled this privately, she hissed. So could Ava. So could Jordan. She glanced around like someone was about to snap a photo. Your father's in shock. Eric's barely speaking. I raised an eyebrow. Eric, you mean the brother-in-law with the hidden betting debts? The one who tried writing off luxury watch purchases through his landscaping business? Her mouth twitched. How do you know about... I run an audit firm as part of my legal division, I said. Don't act surprised. Dana, she whispered, we're family. I folded my arms. Funny. That word never came up when you stuck me by the kitchen doors and pretended my career didn't exist. She flinched. Behind us, the guests had split into quiet knots of panic and curiosity. Some were openly recording. Others just stared, wine forgotten in hand. Ava's voice cracked through the air. Jordan, she said sharply, is it true? He was sitting now, head in his hands, his tie loose and twisted. "Did you know?" she said louder, voice pitching. "Did you know who she was?" He looked up, hollow-eyed. "I didn't, I swear." "You mocked her. We mocked her. You dragged my sister through the dirt, and you didn't even know she held your company in her palm?" "It wasn't like that," he mumbled. She snapped. "What exactly was it like, Jordan? Enlighten me." I didn't interrupt. They were doing my work for me now. My mother turned back to me, voice trembling. "If you don't stop this—" "I'll what?" I asked calmly. "Lose your approval? Be cut off from a family that only invites me when they need something?" She blinked rapidly, her lips parted like she had a retort queued up, but it didn't come. I took a step closer. "Here's what's going to happen. Rutledge Aviation is about to be audited, every contract, every asset, every hidden loan." She looked around, then back at me. "You're bluffing." "I'm not." I tilted my head. "You should know better by now." Behind her, Ava slapped a hand against the wall. "You married me into a company you can't even hold together," she screamed at Jordan. "Do you realize what you've done?" He didn't answer. He looked like a man drowning in a crowd. The pianist had long stopped playing. The room had fallen into a stunned murmur, the air thick with dread and disbelief. I straightened my dress. "I came here because you asked me to, because you said it mattered, but it didn't matter to you that I had a seat, that I had a name, that I built the very thing you're clinging to." I looked toward the ballroom doors. "I'm done now." My mother reached for me. "Dana, please, don't walk out on your sister's wedding." I stopped just long enough to say, "She already walked out on me, years ago." And I left them all behind, still arguing, still unraveling, as the reception hall echoed with silence louder than any music they could have played. By Monday morning, the headlines were everywhere. Verity CEO pulls $80 million plug on Rutledge deal. Stock plummets. Mystery tech tycoon reveals identity at lavish wedding meltdown. Aerospace heiress or assassin. It was ridiculous, all of it, but effective. Rutledge Aviation's shares dropped 23% by end of day. Their press team released a frantic statement about supply chain realignment and delays in integration. Investors weren't buying it, not after footage from the wedding hit social media and racked up 2 million views. That same night, Ava filed for annulment. I knew because her attorney, who had once tried to poach one of my junior engineers, sent over a polite email asking for a character statement. I deleted it. I didn't celebrate. There was no gloating, no late-night toast, no press tour. Just a quiet morning at Verity's Denver HQ, reviewing a list of newly available tech patents that Rutledge had been forced to offload to cover liquidity gaps. We bought 6 of them before lunchtime. That week, I also approved 17 rehiring offers. Engineers, analysts, and project leads who'd left Rutledge years ago after being underpaid and overlooked. Every one of them signed within 48 hours. One wrote in her reply, "Finally, a company that respects brain over bloodline." My phone buzzed constantly. My father called 3 times, then texted, "Your mother's not sleeping. Can you just come by the house?" Then, "You've made your point, Dana. Enough is enough." Then nothing. 2 hours later, "We didn't raise you to be cold." Then my mother, "Sweetheart, let's talk, please. People are asking questions. This isn't how we solve things." "Dana." I didn't answer. The calls didn't slow down. They shifted, from angry to regretful, then back to bitter. A few came from old family friends, the kind who had never invited me to their 4th of July barbecues but now suddenly wanted to check in. I let them all go to voicemail. Instead, I met with the transition team to review the next acquisition, then with legal to finalize the vendor consolidation plan, then with HR to implement the new equity structure. I made sure everyone who stuck with Verity through its lean years got a bonus, a real one. Every step I took that week wasn't about revenge, it was about control. Quiet, surgical control, and finally, it was mine. One night, I paused outside the lab floor and looked down through the glass wall. Engineers in hoodies and safety goggles worked with drones on magnetic lift rails. People who didn't care about ballrooms or seat cards or last names, they just built, like I used to, back when the only thing I had was a soldering iron and a rented storage unit with no heat. I stood there a long time, and for the first time since that invitation landed in my mailbox, I didn't feel angry or insulted or hurt. I just felt done. The story didn't end in the ballroom. It ended here, in code, in strategy, in structure. not in applause, but in the silence that follows a storm, and that silence was mine. She showed up without an appointment. Security buzzed me from the front desk. "There's an older woman here. Says she's your mother?" I sighed. "Send her up." When the elevator doors opened, I saw her step out cautiously, heels clicking against the polished floor. Her coat was years out of style, something stiff and floral, and she held her purse like a shield. She looked smaller than I remembered. The receptionist led her to the glass meeting room near my office. I walked in and shut the door behind me. She stood. "Hi, Dana. Have a seat." She sat down slowly, like she wasn't sure if the chair would support her. I stayed standing. "This place it's beautiful," she said, eyes scanning the minimal design. The skyline view behind me. Very modern. "It works." She swallowed. "I wasn't sure if you'd see me." "You came anyway." She nodded. I did. We sat in silence for a moment. She looked down at her hands, fingers twisting the strap of her bag. "I just wanted to say," she began, then paused. "You were right, about all of it." I didn't speak. We didn't believe in you. We didn't understand what you were building. And instead of admitting that, we mocked it. I mocked it. Still, I said nothing. I waited. "I think," she continued, voice cracking slightly, "we were scared. You stepped out of a world we could understand. No safety net. No clear title we could brag about at dinner parties. Just risk." She looked up at me. "And then you made it. You made something real. And I'm sorry we only saw that after it served us." I pulled open the drawer beside me and slid a packet across the table. She stared at it. "Small business resource kit," I said. "Startup license registration, vendor certification, supply chain access. Enough to launch a basic drone maintenance shop. Nothing fancy, but honest." She blinked. "Is this for me?" "No," I said. "It's for you and Dad. You asked me once if I'd help you find something appropriate after everything fell apart. I didn't answer then because I was still deciding if I believed you wanted to do the work." Her mouth parted, unsure what to say. "This isn't a gift," I continued. "It's an opportunity, just like the one I never got from you." She reached for the packet, fingers trembling slightly. "You don't need to apologize again," I said quietly. "You just need to do something with this. Something that doesn't involve pretending you always believed in me." "I don't expect forgiveness," she said. I wanted you to know we see it now. All of it." I gave a single nod. She stood, hesitating. That table by the kitchen doors. I should have said something. I met her eyes. "You did, just not out loud." She started to say something else, but stopped. Her lips pressed together in a hard line. She gave a small nod, then turned and walked out of the room. I stayed there for a long moment, the packet still sitting on the glass between us. No comfort, no warm closure, just a choice. One I'd once begged for myself, and now offered in return. It was almost midnight, but I was still in my office. The lights were low, just the soft desk lamp and the hum of cooling fans from the server closet. Outside, Denver was quiet. No helicopters, no buzz, no headlines. Just city lights blinking like low-orbit satellites. I closed my laptop and turned my chair toward the glass wall. In the corner of the room sat an old soldering bench, scarred, dented, still stained with flux residue. I kept it on purpose. The original Verity was born on that bench, in a rented storage unit behind a closed-down liquor store. No heat, no insulation. Just me, code, and borrowed time. Now Verity Aero had 6 facilities across 3 countries, and enough patents to make half the industry nervous. And yet, the bench stayed. Jordan was back in California. Last I heard, junior engineer at a second-tier composite firm. Nothing wrong with the work, just honest and quiet. The same kind he once laughed at. Ava had faded from the headlines. Her PR firm tried damage control, but the public had moved on. She kept her maiden name now. Rumor was she gave up her condo and started teaching spin classes in Boulder. No one tagged her in anything anymore. As for my parents, they finally cashed the first startup grant check. I didn't send it directly, of course. That would have made it feel like charity. It came through a small state-funded innovation program we subsidized under another name. They opened a drone repair shop in Grand Junction. Dad handles the soldering. Mom handles the paperwork. They're not making much, but they're working. For the first time in a long time, they're working. I never went to visit. I didn't need to, because I didn't do it for them. I did it to close the loop. I stood and crossed the room, resting a hand on the old bench. The surface was cold. Solid, unchanging. The way truth often is. People ask me after everything if it felt good. Bringing the Rutledges down, showing the world what I built. I never answered, because the truth is, that wasn't the win. The win was quiet. It was persistence in the face of mockery. It was building something real when no one clapped. It was sitting by the service doors, knowing exactly who I was, even when they didn't. That was the difference. That's what made Verity Verity. I turned off the light and left the office. No applause, just silence. Exactly how I liked it.